Just before the show, we talked to a source of ours in the television industry to try and get some clarity. There are multiple conflicting reports on what's happening with the Pac-12 TV deal. Heather Dinich at ESPN tweeted moments ago, in a tweet I have not seen, by the way, but tweeted moments ago that a Pac-12 TV deal is imminent. Ross Dellinger, who now works for Yahoo, Stuart Mandel, who works for The Athletic, both saying that no TV deal is imminent. Our sources in the television industry tell us that it is expected by most people that in the next 10 days there will be a TV deal. Texting and talking to people right before the show today, we are hearing that a TV deal is close. And again, Stuart Mandel's a guy that I respect a lot. As my phone will not stand upright right now. Okay, that's cool. He's just over here. I'm just having one of those days. But Stuart Mandel at The Athletic is a guy that I really trust. And Stuart Mandel tweeted moments ago that no TV deal is expected. There will be no Pac-12 TV deal to announce at Friday's media deal, in part because, quote, we've seen folks coming to the table that were not at the table 6 months ago. NBC, USA Network, via NBC Universal, as we told you about. That's Stuart's tweet. Heather Dinich is somebody that I worked with at ESPN. I take her word as gospel when it comes to college football because Heather is somebody that does not play games. And Heather saying that there is no Pac-12 TV deal Friday, but one is imminent. Mm-hmm. What do you make of all this, Jake? Because it seems like, from what our sources are telling us, it's coming within the next 10 days. They have the basic framework. Their struggle has been getting all of these 10 remaining presidents to sign a grant of rights. There is a new board of directors in place, as you guys are well aware. We're going to talk about some Arizona awkwardness here in a minute. But what do you make of this? Because it feels like the same old Pac-12 TV deal talk.
Yeah, it's another day, another dollar. It's another day, another new, fresh media member. No disrespect to Heather Dinich. She does great work. But another media member saying that they'll have a media deal in the next 10 days. That's what we've been hearing for forever, it seems like. So not to discredit what she's saying, but I just will believe it when I see it. I think that, this conversation is so tired. It's so just dragged out. And I understand that maybe the market isn't as ripe with suitors as it once was when the Big 12 got their deal, or maybe even before that. But at the same time, I think that's partially an excuse. I think that, there's always suitors for something that's wanted. And I don't think that the Pac-12 is necessarily heavily wanted right now.
Yeah, and I think what you're looking at is Heather Dinich wrote a story at ESPN.com in which she said that, as you can see on the screen, Pac-12 expects to release details of its highly anticipated media rights deal in the, quote, near future. She has a source telling her, and again, I worked with Heather Dinich in my time at ESPN. She is the gold standard in college football. Like the connections that Heather has as a professional are second to none. She says a source told her, quote, our 10 schools have been ridiculously patient. And I would agree with that. They say the patience is about to pay off. I don't know if that's what that means. I still maintain that as we sit here, that I have to, on some level, believe that I think $30, $40, $50 million is outrageous. I just don't see how that's possible. Like all the hubbub over this Brett Yormark comment last week at Big 12 Media Days, saying that if the Big 12 was trying to do a deal today, that the deal they got last year probably doesn't exist.
The media market today isn't what it was when we did our deal in the fall. And I am just so thrilled that we got our deal done early, because I'm not sure if I didn't do that deal then, that deal exists today. There's an opportunity cost to chasing a deal. If I was if I had been in the market all year chasing a deal, all the things that we talked about earlier and I addressed yesterday wouldn't have happened, because I would have had a singular focus on one thing. The fact that we were able to get that thing done early and in 90 days gave us the latitude and the ability to chase all the other things we're doing now. So we really leveraged that moment to the extent that we could, and it's built incredible momentum for us.
Well, I mean, is he talking about the Pac-12 or the Big 12? I think he's talking about both, because I think Brett Yormark is painfully aware that there is no big deal to be done for the Pac-12 right now. And, listen, again, I am not disparaging Heather Dinich or Stuart Mandel or anybody else in this business. We talk to sources that are very well placed, and I still have yet to hear anybody bring me a number that exceeds $20 million. I've not heard that one time. I've told you on this show the same thing I heard today. $19.7 million is the number. And if they get more than that, it's out of left field. And I think when you look at the likely partners in this scenario, I don't see how they get to $35 million, which is what is being bandied about right now. That the Pac-12, if you go hop on Twitter, they're getting $30 to $35 million a year per school. I hope that's true, because that keeps all 10 members of the Pac-12 together, and it allows them to expand with SMU and San Diego State. If that is in fact true, I have a hard time believing it's $30 to $35 million, because I don't know where that money comes from. It is, we are hearing again, Heather Dinich said this today, that it is partial linear and partial streaming. We've been talking about that for almost a year now. 8 months now we've been hearing that it's partial linear and partial streaming. That's not new. My question is, where's the $30 to $35 million coming from? And hey, maybe I just don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I can't find somebody to tell me it's 30 to 35 million, and we're asking. We are asking. We have worked our ass off the last year to build a sourcing network on this, and I can't find a single of the dozen sources we have in the TV industry who will tell me it's 30 to 35 million. So I wish and I hope and I dream that is true, because I think that's better for college football. I think that's better for the Pac-12. If it is in fact 30 to 35 million, then we're on a level playing field, right? Then the Pac-12 can move ahead, expand, build platforms, build programs, try to figure out how to win a basketball game. Like all the things that the Pac-12 has struggled with over the last couple of years, they will have the ability to do that, because you're not going to lose Arizona and Colorado if it's $30 to $35 million. So I hope that it is. I just don't believe that's the number. I don't, and maybe I'm too much of a pessimist, and I know that Pac-12 fans are running out the Big 12 ANON bullshit, but hey, say what you want to say. Call it what you want to call it. You tell me who's bringing $30 to $35 million to the table. Because I can't find it. Because if it's ESPN, how does it make sense for ESPN to share streaming rights when you know that there's not enough butter for all the toast to go around in the streaming business right now? And listen to all the Pac-12 folks talking about how ESPN's going out of business. That's the other thing that's being floated out there, that ESPN's struggling. They're trying to sell it off, and like all the spin and negativity around ESPN. You think all of a sudden they're going to start sharing content when they're struggling and going out of business, which, by the way, they're not, and they won't. So I just don't know where all this comes from. And again, I sit here and I tell you, as honestly as I can tell you, as passionately as I can tell you, as genuinely as I can tell you, I hope it's true. I hope that the Pac-12 gets $30 to $35 million a year. I hope they prosper. I hope they grow. I hope this conference finally leaves all of this BS behind. But Jake, I just don't see how that happens here.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know where the influx of cash is going to come from. And hey, maybe NBC Universal comes through with something. Maybe that's the play. I mean, we've heard that for a good little bit that NBC Universal is around, and maybe they come through. But I'm just telling you again, no disrespect to Heather, but everybody has said this. I mean, again, this isn't new stuff, right? Like, hey, they're going to have it in the next 10 days. Great. We've been saying that since Christmas. I mean, legitimately, like, we've been saying that for months now. So to me, like, it's not surprising that the week of their media day, we're getting somebody in the Pac-12, right? Sources, somebody saying that the media deal is coming in the next 10 days. So for me, like I said, this doesn't change a whole lot. I think Heather does great work, but this doesn't change a lot for me. I still maintain that the conference is going backwards. I still maintain that it is a rather embarrassing look not to have your media deal done by your media day, right? Because media day is sort of that benchmark day on the calendar where it's like, okay, has the season started yet? No, but media day just happened. Season's right around the corner. So you would have liked to have come into your media day with a deal. And so the fact that you don't have that is kind of a struggle. And my other thing here is I don't know why the Pac-12 wants to keep pushing that narrative of, hey, next 10 days, a month from now, a couple weeks from now, right? Like, we've heard a different version of that for months, as I was saying. And I've always been curious as to why the conference feels the need to constantly push a timeline. Because the first time you say, hey, it's going to be 10 days and it doesn't work out, okay, that's one thing, right? If you did it once, but it just didn't work out, you let it die, don't talk about it, totally get it. But this has been repeated. And not only has it been repeated, it's been repeated by different people in the conference. So that's why I say this isn't just like one guy. This isn't just like, Kirk Schultz, right? Washington State. It's not like Kirk is the only one saying it. Right, you have multiple people saying, hey, it's going to be done in the next 10 days or the next month or whatever the case may be, and it's not done. Yeah. So that's why I say, like, I respect the reporting, but I'll believe it when I see it. And again, I will believe that this conference is surviving when I see a media deal done and a grant of rights done. Because, again, the other piece of reporting in this Heather Dinich article is that the Pac-12 has pre-negotiated their grant of rights, and that's all apparently agreed to. And my point in that is how are you going to agree to something when you don't have a deal? How are you going to
what keep that in your mind. Where have we heard this before? We heard this from John Canzano. And who else did we hear this from? Kirk Schultz essentially hinted at it. And Kirk Schultz has been wrong on this at just about every single turn. And the issue that I have is if we're going to believe Kirk Schultz, like, how do you get away? How do you get away from Kirk Schultz talking about, streaming is important, or, this 1 to 10, the infamous 1 to 10, a deal gets done?
On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you believe that you'll actually get there at the end of June?
Who are you talking to? No, sorry. Sorry, moment of levity. Anyway,
yeah, I'm just trying. Yeah, because it would. I mean, it's kind of been a little bit of like
I know
Groundhog Day.
And that's why I don't like to talk to the media about this, because I already said I think it's imminent, and it's been imminent, for 3 months. I put it at probably to a 7. So. Okay.
I mean, listen, I love my dude Kurt Schultz. He is a fountain of content.
Mm-hmm.
But he's talking about it's imminent, it's going to happen, and he's been saying that for 6 months. And now all of a sudden, Heather Dinich is saying the exact same thing that Canzano said, who we already know talks to Kirk Schultz, allegedly. Like, it's tough to buy it lock, stock, and barrel. It's tough to buy into that.
Yeah.
With all due respect. And I look at guys like Stuart Mandel. I look at guys like Brett McMurphy and Ross Dellinger and Heather Dinich. And these are some really good journalists we're talking about. That Ross Dellinger wound up at Yahoo. Amen, dude. I am so, because Ross Dellinger is one of the best. But this sounds a lot like what's been coming out of Washington State for months.
Yep.
Like, am I wrong about that?
I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's the same messaging. I think, again, it's akin to, when I think about messaging in college football in the big picture, the things we hear every year. Hey, the Pac-12 is going to get a new deal. Hey, Texas is going to be good. Hey, Lincoln Riley's going to win a national championship. Hear it every year. I'll believe it when I see it, dude. I will believe it when I see it. Yeah. And again, that's why I say, like, notice at Big 12 Media Day, you didn't have any conjecture. You didn't have any gray area because there was no gray area to be had, right? Like, that's what I mean when I say the Big 12 is just in this better position than the Pac-12. The Big 12 is able to talk about all these great things. I mean, like Brett said in that clip we played, the Big 12 is able to leverage opportunities because they got the deal done so quickly. And just the same way they were able to do that is the same way the Pac-12 is not able to create new opportunities and not able to build momentum forward. And that's why I say any media member, and again, this applies, in my opinion, to everybody. Anyone saying that a Pac-12 deal is imminent or is about to happen or is right around the corner, great. That's cool. And admittedly, Heather has not been on this beat, like on this particular topic. She has not been all over this particular topic, right? So she's kind of the newest one talking about a deal is going to get done. But again, like I just can't believe it until I see it. And I know I've said that a few times, but that's just where we're at with this, man. Like, like if you'd have said, hey, this person, Bobby Robbins or Prime or who the hell ever, told me that the deal is imminent, okay, then I could put more credence to this because someone was willing to come on the record. And I'm not questioning her sources. I'm just simply saying that when someone's willing to come on the record and tell you, hey, I believe that a deal is going to be done soon, well, okay, we need to give that a little more credence, right? We need to give that a little more legs. But this is more the same, and I just don't know that this is like breaking news or anything crazy.
Yeah, I would be stunned if Heather Dinich is reporting this. She's talking to somebody who's telling her that. I think the world of her as a professional, and again, that doesn't probably mean shit to you, but I think she is a phenomenal reporter. This just feels very different than everything that's been happening. And I also hear that, reading her story, leaders throughout college athletics have been paying close attention to the Pac-12 and waiting for months to see how, if at all, a new deal could further impact conference realignment. Okay, well, that's not new. We know that.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't disagree with you. I think that the problem for me is we're hearing that there's a deal imminent, but yet new suitors have come to the table. And we know that the Pac-12, as we exclusively reported on the show, re-engaged with NBC Universal to try and get a deal done with USA Network.
So how's the deal imminent if we got new suitors at the table?
That's the problem that I have, right? And this is all that's going to be talked about Friday at Pac-12 Media Days.
As it should be. They made their bed. Now it's time to lay in it. This is what you deserve.
And by the way, ESPN's reporting it's imminent, but won't be done by Friday. Multiple sources, as we've mentioned here, are reporting that no deal will be announced this week, which, in my opinion, is a disaster.
So wait, no deal is going to be done this week, but the deal's imminent. Okay, we need to redefine what imminent means. Imminent means that, hey, in the next week, in the next couple of days, in my opinion, in a business sense, when you use the word imminent in business processing terms, on this level, that would mean that a deal is going to be announced in the next couple of days. Like today's Tuesday, okay, by Friday it'll be announced. The deal's imminent. Imminent does not mean 30 to 40 days from now. That's not imminent. That's like being there. I would rather someone say, hey, the Pac-12, like if Heather came out and said, hey, the Pac-12 has now progressed to a point where they have a partner willing to invest at a level that the Pac-12 is good with, and they're negotiating terms on top of that, like years and distribution and all that good stuff, that would be great. That would be breaking news, in my opinion. If you came out and said, hey, dude, the Pac-12 and NBC have agreed on a number, but now they're working on channels and all this other stuff, okay, now we got breaking news. Now we got something to work with. But But this imminent stuff is just not. It's just not.
But I would also say, man, I hope it's true. I really hope it's true because I think I think this 2-conference discussion we've had for a couple of months now.
Wow.
I think it's terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible for college football to be going to any kind of 2-conference system. I'm openly rooting, and I know it pisses Big 12 fans off. I'm openly rooting for the Pac-12 to survive. I know that disappoints you. I'm openly rooting for it. And I say that because if the Pac-12 survives and they can add San Diego State and somebody else, because again, I'm not your SMU homie. I am much
SMU
more about
and their
Tulane.
oil money.
I'm much more about Tulane. And I know that SMU, according to the great radio wizard in the Northwest, is going to pay $70 million as an entry fee, which is not happening. I get it. But I think college football is far better off when you are talking about major P5 conferences surviving.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reality. Thank you, Cleveland Rocks, who gave us $20. Appreciate that. Scott Andrews gives us $10 today to say my favorite show is on Jakey Two Holes and the soon-to-be dead Mormon. This guy. Also, nothing against Heather, but the PAC has been saying in the near future for months. You're exactly
right.
right.
That's the tough part, and I think for folks like Heather who have just had an incredible career, and as you said, are the gold standard. Because I agree with that. Heather Dinich is outstanding.
Yes.
I mean, obviously does amazing work, and I think that's what's tough is like, you cover this conference and you cover the media deal situation, or lack thereof, obviously, and you feel as a media member and as a writer implored in a sense to put out content, to report what you're being told. But unfortunately, she's being given the same round of crap, in my opinion, that everybody's been given.
I think that's very true. This sounds an awful lot like Kirk Schultz.
And so if you're Heather...
It's a guess,
but... look at this choice. If you're Heather, hey, don't put anything out. Don't report this. Or report it because you're a reporter. And it's the same thing people have been told for months on months.
Rock in a hard place.
Yeah.
Rock in a hard place. Riley O'Brien, how are you? He says, hey, Monty, shout out to you and Jake. Love you guys and love the Monty Show. Appreciate it. Thank you. Laura Weiss, how the heck are you? Good to see you. The next month isn't in the near future or imminent.
I'm saying, bro. Like, come on, man.
Right? Spangler, how are you? She's just missing the context when she used the word imminent.
Yeah.
No. Truth. Big 12 fans are charming, ultra soft. Well, but I understand why Big 12 fans, I don't know, are Big 12 fans rooting for the Pac-12 to disintegrate? I don't know. I don't know.
That
that's feels
the right
strong.
Verbiage.
That feels strong
dude,
to me.
Big 12 fans want to pick up the Pac-12's best brands. I mean, let's be real about this, right? Like, hey, we're not voting or rooting for the Pac-12 to fail. But man, if we could get Arizona, ASU, Utah, and Colorado, we would be over the moon about it. Like, come on, dude. We know what Big 12 fans want. And I don't blame you for that. They're
Not
great
at all.
brands.
Not
dude.
at all.
They'd be huge value adds to your conference.
Yeah. Can I just be candid with you and tell you I'm tired of all of this? I'm not here for this today. I was all tuned up and ready to rip San Diego State a new one.
I know, dude.
I was all tuned up and ready to say that Brett Yormark was poking fun at the Pac-12, and then Heather freaking Dinich and Ross Dellinger have to show up and ruin the whole damn show. Dilly. Right? Like, because I just don't believe that a deal is imminent.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think what Ross tweeted is much more accurate in that the Pac-12 will not announce a new TV deal this week, likely extending into August, and the league's year-long pursuit of rights package. The conference holds its football media day on Friday in Vegas.
So let me get this right. Ross, who I think is incredibly credible on this topic, I think he's been outstanding.
Welcome. And by the way, he's at Yahoo Sports. Please follow him, Ross Dellinger, on Twitter.
Yeah, that's a must follow if you're a
That's
college
one of our favorite dudes.
So it's July 18th, and Ross Dellinger's tweeting about the idea that this is going to bleed into August. And we have other people saying the deal's imminent.
Look at that. The conference holds its annual football media day on Friday, likely extending into August the league's year-long pursuit of rights package.
Too bad.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So that's why I say, again, it comes off sounding like I'm trying to hate on Heather's work. I'm not trying to hate
Not
on
at
Heather's
all.
work. I just think it's the same thing. And it does kind of, to kind of what you were getting at, like it does kind of make me feel like whoever she's talking to is someone in the hey, the Pac-12's great, we're the best, we're gonna get a huge deal, thought. And I'm just not in that thought.
This conference, though, look at this. This is the tweet, the conference, Jason Shear of Wildcat Country, the Arizona reporter. Thankfully, screenshots this tweet this morning. Get ready for these new head coaches to make their Pac-12 football media day debuts. Anybody want to point out what's wrong with this? Well, that's Deion Sanders, new coach.
Can't miss him, right? Prime.
That's Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State.
Right,
That's the new coach.
Right.
Hey, look, it's Jed Fish from Arizona.
Who the f*** is that guy?
Jed Fish is new at Arizona?
Arizona's going to have a place to go. And that's what I tell our recruits.
Be all right.
That's what I tell our donors. That's what I tell our families of current personnel. We have a great brand. And we have a great basketball program, we have a great softball program, a great baseball program, and I believe we have the opportunity to have an incredible football program.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Where we play our road games, we'll wait and see for our president. But we are locked in and loaded for this season, and we're going to try to just be where our feet are, which is right now in the Pac-10.
Bro.
And there's Jed Fish in the bottom right of that picture. In the
Pac-10.
10.
Bro.
How does the Pac-10
Pac-10.
continue to fuck things like this up? Jed Fish is not. He was there last year. He was there already. Time to fire the interns. They've been here 15 minutes.
Dude.
Right?
It's rough.
How do you get Jed Fish at Arizona? And again, I just go back and say, how is Bobby Robbins on the board of directors?
Whoever came up with that shit need to be fired.
And now you're poking the bear, literally. How do you make that mistake? How do you make that mistake?
Yeah.
I don't understand this conference.
Yeah.
And now my phone and my DMs are blowing up with, we haven't heard that $30 to $35 million number either.
Oh.
Nobody's heard on par. This is crazy. Raider Mark. Raider Mark says it's even more than a year, Ross. It is.
Yeah, dude.
More than a year. But you know what, Raider Mark? It's an interesting question. Who put the Pac-12 in this position? Sure, Larry Scott, mismanagement, money, Comcast, your mom. I totally get it.
Right.
But isn't ESPN largely responsible for this? Because you hear the comments that Brett Yormark made, right? You hear them.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, hey, a year ago when we got our deal, I don't know that we could get that same deal now.
The media market today isn't what it was when we did our deal in the fall. And I am just so thrilled that we got our deal done early, because I'm not sure if I didn't do that deal then, that deal exists today. There's an opportunity cost to chasing a deal. If I was if I had been in the market all year chasing a deal, all the things that we talked about earlier and I addressed yesterday wouldn't have happened, because I would have had a singular focus on one thing. The fact that we were able to get that thing done early and in 90 days gave us the latitude and the ability to chase all the other things we're doing now. So we really leveraged that moment to the extent that we could, and it's built incredible momentum for us.
Dude, it's incredible. He's talking about the Pac-12.
No doubt.
Let's
No
not
doubt.
sit here and Brett Yormark's talking about the Pac-12. And I think he knows. And again, I'm sitting here watching this video, and people are like, sources that we know that are watching the show are like, yeah, dude, nobody has said they're getting $30 to $35 million. Like, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. Have you heard that? Because I haven't heard that. Like, nobody on par with the ACC and the Big 12. How? Because to get on par with the ACC and the Big 12, you got to get in bed with ESPN and Fox.
Yep.
And Fox has been out as a tier 1 partner since the very early stages of this. So to go back to the original question, who put the Pac-12 here? ESPN put the Pac-12 here.
Well, and I think that the Pac-12's lack of vision, too. I mean, I do agree, in fairness to the Pac-12, I don't think anybody had the ability to see the Big 12's deal coming when it did, A, right? But B, saying no to ESPN is not good business, in the sense that when ESPN comes to you, and really ESPN and Fox come to you and say, hey, what do you guys think about merging with the Big 12 to form a super conference?
Yeah.
So right there, if that idea was brought to me, my first response would be not yes, because I think you got to vet everything.
You do.
But my first response would have been, wow, there's a lot of business opportunity just within that, right? Like, so if we merge, that means we're merging 2 executive boards together. We're going to have to figure out who the commissioner of the conference would be, and then obviously deputy commissioner and all that good stuff. But just from a money-making standpoint, a TV standpoint, imagine having, again, because at that time, USC and UCLA hadn't left. So imagine having the top brands in the Big 12, Texas and Oklahoma, versus SC and Oregon and Washington and Utah, right? So to me, I just never understood why the Pac-12 said no to the idea of merging. And at that time, I got to believe that was a pride decision, right? Hey, the academic side is just not a good fit. We prioritize academics over athletics. So at that time, I feel like that was a pride, hey, we just feel like being associated with the Big 12 is not good business. But what I don't think the Pac-12 saw coming was, oh, man, this coin's going to get flipped to the other side, and all of a sudden Yormark and company are going to be in the driver's seat. And because we said no to a merger, ESPN and Fox are going to go to work with the Big 12, and then they're not going to want to or have a line item to go ahead and pay us, $50 million a year or $30 million a year, whatever the number would be. That's why you're here. Carol Folt, at USC, she may have been the starter, but that's why you're here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you're here because ESPN decided to go with Brett Yormark in the Big 12. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. And really, it was ESPN and Fox. And our sources have told us that, hey, ESPN and Fox wanted the Big 12 and the Pac-12 to merge. And the Pac-12 wouldn't have the conversation. And I think that's why you're here. I think you're here because ESPN decides who gets and who don't in college football, right?
True.
They largely decide who the haves and the have-nots in college football are. And I think the long, difficult relationship the Pac-12 has had with its TV partners is why they're a have-not. Because, again, and I'm not trying to be oversimplistic, but as somebody just texted me, if it was going to be done at 30 to 35 million, it would have been done already. And the idea, and we keep hearing about how new suitors have come to the table who were not at the table 6 months ago. That's not ESPN, and that's not Fox. And I for the life of me, there's only one, and that's NBC Universal. And in my opinion, that's the only one. They were never at $350 million a year. They were never. I can tell you from really well-placed television industry sources that NBC Universal was never past $150 million a year. So if it's $15 million a year from NBC Universal, and that's USA Network and the Peacock app, again, I just ask, who are the streamers that are all going to play nicely with ESPN and Apple and Amazon, and who is it? Because do you really think Peacock is not going to take the best game of the week? Or NBC Universal for USA Network is not going to take the biggest game of the week? Do you really think that the CW, who just did a deal with the ACC, do you really think they're going to fork over more money to pay for the Pac-12? They'd have done that the first time around. Like, this doesn't make sense. There's no new suitor who wasn't at the table 6 months ago. There's not. There's only one, in my opinion, real possibility in the streaming world who wasn't at the table 6 months ago, as we told you, and that's Amazon Prime Sports. And I don't know that that's in fact the case at this moment. But other than that, Apple's been at the table the entire, for 10 months now, because here we are in July. They've been at the table since October. So that's 10 months. We know that the CW's been at the table for at least 10 months. We know that Ion Scripps has been out for at least 7 months. And I told you, I believe it was in February, that NBC Universal stepped up to the plate in February, and that was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out who's this almighty savior that swooped in and is saving the Pac-12 TV deal. Because I don't see who it, I don't even see who it could possibly be. Because you know it can't be CBS. They just don't have the volume, right? They're not looking for late window programming because they already have a deal with the Big Ten, who's already got a deal with NBC to take Big Ten after dark.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense that it would be CBS, ABC, ESPN, or the CW. It makes no sense that it would be ESPN swooping in. They've been at the table every day. They have weekly and bi-weekly conversations set up with their conference partners. ESPN is a wonderful person to be on the right side of the street with.
Facts.
The problem is I don't believe that the Pac-12 is on the right side of the street with ESPN and ABC.
Well, and I think your point about, hey, you know, if 30 to 35 was going to happen, it would have happened already. I mean, it's damn near impossible to argue with that logic. Like, if the Pac-12 was going to get the deal that they wanted to get, well, it would have been done already.
It would have been done already.
We're here. So I just think I'm a huge believer in these type of conversations and these topics when we're talking about what may happen or where a conference is at or whatever the case may be. Just boil it down to simple logic. If they were going to get the deal they wanted, it would have happened already. Now, they're not going to get the deal they want. So once again, we're still in the same place. And yet again, we're in the middle of the month. Because I paid attention to this too. And I don't know if you've noticed this. Every time we get to about the 20th of a month, right? Between the 17th and the 20th is usually when we start getting, hey, it's going to go into the next month. That's usually when people are like, hey, it's going to, like in Ross Dellinger's case today, it's going to bleed into August.
But am I also the only one who thinks that this is radically timed to make sure that, hey, maybe this takes some pressure off on Friday at Pac-12 Media Day? So that, well, hey, a deal's coming. We're not ready to talk about details, but a new suitor came to the table. So am I the only one who thinks that? Like I go back to Kurt Schultz talking about, well, hey, you know, the optics are bad. And, you know, like his comments on, hey, you know, if this was just another time with layoffs and stuff, we'd have a deal done already.
Why is it dragged on so long?
I think it's just the environment, it's the uncertainty in the economy, the layoffs in the tech sector and other places. I mean, look at the major media companies have almost all laid off people, and so have some of the major players in the tech sector. And, you know, I know at least one of the partners we were talking to said, we're ready to sign today. But the optics of us announcing that we're laying off X number of people and we signed, you know, this multi-million-dollar deal with the Pac-12 are just simply not the best. So we're going to have.
Yeah, simply not the best. But now all of a sudden he's talking about, oh, well, you know, man, we never thought we'd be here.
We expect to have a resolution by the end of the month. I mean, when we thought some of these things with the Pac-12 revenue would be an issue back in January and February, we thought, well, we're going to have the media deal signed. So by the time a board sees it, you see here's the challenges and here's the new revenue above and beyond coming in, and you say, okay, we got an issue to take care of for a year, but there's actually some longer term solutions. I never thought we would still be in June negotiating and working with our media partners around what that final deal is going to be. So
never thought we would be here. Yet, what is the language in Heather Dinenge's article today? Our 10 schools have been ridiculously patient. The patience is about to pay off, and a deal is imminent. Boy, that sounds an awful lot like Kurt Schultz to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you just heard him say essentially all of that.
Well,
We've been patient. We never thought we'd be here. A deal is imminent. He said in June, I can't believe it won't be done by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the way, it's July 18th. This sounds like Kirk Schultz. And to me, and again, this is obviously just my opinion. Kurt Schultz needs to get a buckshot and get bucked up because I don't understand where his mind's at.
Maybe if they had buckshot, their TV deal would be done by now.
Yeah, Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty program.
Hey, Monty.
The daily buckshot, it is here.
Now, we lasted 42 minutes today. That's pretty good. Usually we're like 20 to 25.
I usually last far longer than 42 minutes. All right, you don't?
Stay hard.
You don't? Is that that's what you're saying? I'm going to drink my buckshot. So good. I will also say, played around a golf today, didn't have a buckshot, played horrendous. And the last 3 holes were fucking terrible because I didn't have my buckshot, right? Well, tell me I'm wrong. Didn't have my buckshot. How did the end of that round look?
Dude.
Well, not so good.
Some
Because
crooked ass numbers on
buckshot,
that card,
which is 200 milligrams of caffeine, gives you a mental lift. You get clarity. You feel more energized. You just are more ready to perform, whether you're playing golf, hosting a show, doing taxes, being a secretary, being a mom, being a dad. Buckshot is going to make you feel better, and you're going to have a better day with more mental clarity, more mental ability. That's what buckshot does for me. And I say it every single day on the show. In the description below, there are 2 links to Bucked Up products. One is Buckshot, which I'm telling you, you absolutely got to get your hands on. They will send you a sampler pack to your front door. 6 Buckshots. The Blood Raz and the Watermelon are by far my favorites, but you also got to get the Buck Bars because they are ridiculous. Had one of those today. Immediately felt better, and I'm telling you, Buck Bars are the reason I'm losing weight because I am far less hungry now than I have been at any other point. And it's because I have always hated protein bars until I found the Buck Bar. It is decadent, healthy, quality nutrition from Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Get in the links below. Get your free sample pack of Buck Bars. And let's rock and roll. Nate Simons gives us $5 to say, did you guys see that there was a Colorado Buffalo beat reporter at Big 12 Media Days? Sure.
Yeah.
And there were many beat reporters from non-Big 12 schools there.
Yeah.
Why would they not be? Why would they not be? There were news stories broken left and right. Big 12 Media Day. I was not surprised by that at all, frankly. Ryan Thomas gives us $4.99 to say if the PAC school can't see that they are being lied to, then they deserve the disastrous result. Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, and Arizona need to grow a pair and put old Yeller down.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word.
Put old Yeller down. Why would you call George Kliavkoff old Yeller? Mm-hmm. Don't get it. Jeff Watson, 90% chance CU announces they have asked to join the Big 12 and have accepted on the 25th. Well, I mean, maybe I couldn't. I think that is, if they're getting 30 to 35 million, nobody's leaving. Nobody's leaving. And I'll just continue to tell you that. In fact, if they get 25 million, nobody's leaving.
Yeah.
Nobody's leaving. 25 million is the number. Jeff also says 90% chance CU announces they have asked to join the Big 12 and have accepted on the 25th. Well, I mean, if you want to explain why you feel that way, please feel free. Please feel free, but I don't know that that's the case. Boss Frog, my guy, what's up? Pac-12 dissolves. Marquee schools transition to the Big 10 and the Big 12, where they will make more money and play stronger competition. What am I missing?
Yeah, I mean,
You're not missing
about
much.
as easy as that, bro. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think as simplistic as that is, I think that's exactly right.
And I think that's the trouble with the idea that all of a sudden they've got a new suitor. I mean, again, it's like, what's the new suitor? I mean, has there been, because the only other thing I could think, or the only other possibility, which is not even really a possibility, is that there's been a shift in how the conference views streaming. That could be the only other out that I could even come up with brainstorming. Like somehow, some way, the President Cossays of the world, who don't believe in streaming as a tier 1 option, all of a sudden flip that idea or that philosophy, right? And they say, okay, well, we're in a tough spot, so let's take the whatever $35 million a year from an Apple or from a streamer. That could be the only other possibility, but I just don't see someone like a President Cossay or otherwise just waking up one day and being like, yeah, well, I guess we're just going to be all stream.
And I don't buy into new partner. I just don't. Like, I want to. And I find myself, I'll be honest with you, I find myself sitting here frustrated talking about this. It is frustrating that Pac-12 fans are going to go through this again. Because the beating you're going to take on Friday, and thankfully, I think they're brilliant to do it on Friday. Because I think the beating you're going to take by talking about this, nobody's going to talk about USC. You're going to do incredible damage to the brand at Utah. You're going to do incredible damage to the brand at Washington, who I think could be the best team in the Pac-12. You are going to be talking about TV deals instead of football games.
Yep.
You're going to be talking about TV deals instead of the biggest games of the year. The best players, the Penixes, the Caleb Williams, the Cam Risings. You're going to be talking about anything but those guys because you haven't been able to get a TV deal done.
Well, and those guys are going to be, asked about this situation. If you think that the media is not going to ask the Caleb Williams of the world about the TV deal, you're out of your mind. If you think that new recruits, or if a young guy were to show up at media days for a team, you're gonna get asked about it.
Yes.
And what I'm gonna be curious about is Monday, when everyone's done clipping all their highlights and tweeting stuff and posting stuff, and we have the Pac-12 sound bites floating around. What is the media-trained answer? And we see this all the time at the Arizona schools. The president and a chancellor will say one thing, and then the head coach will say another, or whatever. So do we get a lot of that? Or do we get across the board, regularity? Do we get Arizona and Jedd Fisch talking about leaving? Do we get Colorado and Deion talking about leaving? Or are they going to be much more on the, hey, we got to see how this plays out? Because I think if we get, out of Colorado, because in Heather Dinich's article, she talks about how Colorado is the biggest, what she calls flight risk. The number one leader in a school that would leave would be Colorado.
Not new information.
So, again, not new information, right? So if Deion jumps up on the dais and gives a certain type of answer about, yeah, Pac-12 is great, we're excited about the media deal, I would be surprised by that. But that's what I think you have to look forward with Media Day in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I agree. Cleveland Rocks give us $5 more. Says, hey, driving from Ohio to Kansas, then to Orlando on vacation.
Let's go.
Bought my first carton of buckshot watermelon.
Let's go,
Hope
baby.
it keeps me alert and awake. Be safe. Yes, it should do the job for you. I love it.
Drink your water too, bro.
I rely on it every single day. Absolutely. Saul says Pac-12 in Tijuana. Pac-12 NYC. T-Duck says Pac-12 plus Apple equals dollars. So the problem is, and again, I'm open for suggestions. So Apple is going to give you $30 to $35 million a year. So you're going to be 100% stream. Well, A, we've told you that half this conference is not on board for 100% stream.
Mm-hmm.
B, everybody today has been reporting it's partially television and partially stream. So I don't see that. I don't see that. So we'll see. Raider Mark, if I was an alumni of a PAC school and this continued on to $19 million deal and not 35, I would expect the regents to fire the president or the chancellor. Well, we'll see. I think that's a very interesting premise.
Yeah.
Because if you stay in a conference at $19 million, Washington State cannot afford $19 million a year.
Well, I just don't think even SC, even your top brands don't become top brands by doing bad business, right?
Yeah.
Like USC didn't just renovate or roll out a plan to renovate their football facilities because they are living on pennies. You don't do that.
No, I would agree.
And that's why I think, again, SC and UCLA were so aggressive because I think, again, they had that vision, right? Like, Carol Folt, again, no matter what you think about her, and I still maintain that's one of the most gangster things anybody in college football leadership's ever done.
The former board of director member in the Pac-12, who is the president at USC, was on a call of a special select group of presidents in the Pac-12 to talk about expanding the Pac-12 when they could have gone after Big 12 schools and said, nah, we're good. We're not expanding. Don't think we should do that. Ended the conversation and almost immediately joined the Big Ten. It's amazing.
Gangster.
To me. Absolutely gangster. Nick Flynn, how are you? One thing is for certain, the Pac-12 Media Day is going to be a massive clown fest. Now it's a distraction. And the hard part is you have SEC Media Days. They're talking business and money-making.
Yeah.
Big 12 Football Media Days, 2 days, money-making, business.
Rucker Park.
Pac-12 Football Media Day, and we're talking about TV deals that you don't have. We're talking about, hey, who's the new TV partner? Hey, is George Kliavkoff going to make a statement? He is. Will he take questions from the media? Because now, how does George Kliavkoff not talk about this?
I think you don't have a choice.
How do you not address it? ESPN is now reporting that your TV deal is imminent.
The essence of a media day for any conference is to interact with the media, right? I mean, and I know that seems obvious, but I think it's a crucial point when it comes to George Kliavkoff.
Unless you're West Virginia.
Right, well, yeah, great point. Excellent point. But anyway, sorry, Bob. We don't want to grill you too much, but, I think it's a crucial point. I mean, again, the whole point of a media day is to knock out all those questions. And
Correct.
Also, I think, again, and we saw Brett Yormark do this, redefine or just simply define the direction of your conference and what you meant by this or where you want to go with that. Or that's the whole point of this. So
Yes.
The idea that George Kliavkoff is going to get up on the dais at 8 a.m. Pacific, which, again, I think it's hilarious they're doing it that early. 8 a.m. Pacific, dude's going to start his speech. And
Why?
he's going to talk for, I don't know, I would guess probably 5-10 minutes, right? Brett Yormark talked for about 10 minutes. So 5-10 minute speech. And then I would guess you're going to take questions. But I'm telling you, this media day is very different than anything you've ever seen. You're going to get different questions. It's going to feel different. Pay attention to this. Make sure you pay attention to this.
Delaric gives us $2 to say Pac-12 Media Day is going to be like the Jerry Springer show.
Right.
Well, who's the father? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Glenn, what's up? San Diego State Aztec. I'm in cryostasis until the nonsense subsides.
Wow.
Well, coming up in 5 minutes, we got to talk about San Diego State nonsense.
Yeah, and if you thought the Pac-12 stuff was nonsense, just wait till we talk about that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Todd James, SEC is even trying to knock down the blocks the Big 12 is set up with putting their media days in Dallas. Texas will always be Big 12 country culturally. Now, we're not. Apparently, you're allowed to say that. I said that yesterday, and the fucking world stopped spinning.
It really did, though.
The whole thing stopped spinning, and it caught on fire.
Dude.
Right? Again, Dallas is the heart of the Big 12 conference. And the fact that SEC football media day next year will be in Dallas at the flippin' Omni Hotel is a massive step down for the SEC. That tells you where the Big 12 is. Well, they'll be down the street at Jarrow World in Tarrant County, right? Well,
and I have to say, Jerry World, if you haven't been there recently, still looks the same way it did. It still looks really good. It is incredibly well maintained.
It's unbelievable.
Doing media day at Jerry World or any football stadium, in my opinion, is the way it should be done. The whole hotel thing, and again,
Jerry's the way.
Jerry's the way. Circumcising Skeeters is the way, right? Dude, we went to L.A. for Pac-12 Media Days several years ago now, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that just felt cramped and sweaty.
They did it at the Kodak Theater.
Jerry World was well done. Plenty of space. Everything was
Air
good.
conditioning.
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning.
Come on, dude.
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Cougar Tracks, how are you, my friend? The PAC should add San Diego State instead of San Diego State and still have the Southern California area locked up. 4 minutes. We'll talk about that. Saul Goodman, anything related with the PAC is like colitis. Wow.
Okay.
I mean, take your Maalox. Sears, Kmart, and Bed Bath & Beyond to partner with the PAC Den.
You know.
Don't forget Maverick. We could put it on gas pumps.
Right.
J.K. Marshall, PAC-10, quote, you are not the father.
Dude, yeah.
Maury Povich.
Yeah.
San Diego State plus the PAC, TLA. What is that? Hello? Scott of Greywater, Blockbuster would be a great sponsor for the PAC-10.
Dude, I mean, it's an iconic.
PAC-10.
PAC-10. Jeremy Callahan, no. Saul Goodman, what does Tex Us and the Cowgirls have in common? I don't want the answer. I don't. Spangler, how are you? UT-OU move to the SEC is quickly becoming very awkward. For UT and Oklahoma, because I think the Big 12 is in fine position.
Yeah, and they had no problem talking a bunch of junk about him, too.
Truck Stop Gumby says, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks,
dude.
Thank you, Riley.
Appreciate it.
Saul Goodman, winners of the offseason. Jeremy Sevier, do the SEC media in the Georgia Dome. That's what I'm saying,
dude. Like, why wouldn't you?
And it's not the Georgia Dome anymore. They have Mercedes-Benz Stadium now, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, why would you not do it there?
Right? I mean, come on now. OG Gary, Security and Exchange Commission, SEC.
Right.
SEC. You know. J.K. Marshall, cramped and sweaty like Five Guys. I don't know. Jake's the Five Guys, and Jake knows all about five dudes.
Right.
Todd James, how is that going to look? Big 12 and Jerry World, the SEC not even in the second best choice in Dallas. That's what's crazy, Todd.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the convention center. You didn't go to American Airlines Arena. You went to the Omni Hotel. Well, they're paying homage, Texas and tradition and shit. Okay, well then do it at J.R. Ewing's Ranch for crying out loud. Don't do it at the Omni Hotel that smells like cigarette smoke and cigars. What, Bob's Steak and Chops was booked?
What are you, nuts?
Are you kidding me right now? That's
You're not wrong, dude.
It feels so second rate. Well, we couldn't get Jerry World. Better go to the Omni Hotel?
Excellent strategy, sir.
There's a baseball park across the street, dude. Like Globe Life Stadium and stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What's the food going to be at SEC Media Day? It better be Papa Murphy's Calzones.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do calzones.
Papa Murphy's does calzones?
Oh, I think you mean I do the calzones.
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Oh, well, we do it with fresh ingredients and hand-shredded cheese tucked in a scratch-made dough.
That's how, honey.
At Papa Murphy's, we make great pizza.
Hey, don't forget the calzones.
Order now at papamurphys.com.